everyone. I'm delighted to welcome Ambassador David Saranga, again, to moderate this next panel, along with Dan Haddad, an award-winning director, comedian Leah Forster, and proud IDF soldier Shai Abargel to the stage. Did I pronounce that correctly? I hope so. Let's give them a real big round of applause. Perfect. And the name, well, is it up there yet? Nope. The name of this panel is Proud and Pride, Deconstructing the Queers for Palestine Movement. And here we are. Thank you, guys.
Hello. Hello again. One of the questions that each and every gay of us is asking himself is what happened after October 7th when we see crowds of the LGBT community advocating for Palestine or protesting against Israel. But before we start dealing with this question, I'll ask each and every one of you to present himself in 3 sentences. Shai, please start.
Hey everyone. Oh, now you hear me. I'm Shai Abargel, 34 years old from Tel Aviv. Grew up in a modern Orthodox family in Judea and Samaria. Came out of the closet 5 years ago. I was a combat fighter in the Israeli army, in the paratroopers brigade, and did a very long reserve service in Gaza border and Gaza Khan Yunis with the paratroopers brigade part. Yeah.
Shai is here as part of a delegation of gay soldiers who were fighting in Gaza. And during the Israeli consulate here in New York and the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we didn't know how to celebrate, if to celebrate is the right word, this year Pride Month. And we thought that the best way to connect between what's happening in Israel and Pride Month was to bring a delegation of soldiers who were fighting in Gaza to tell their stories. Thank you, Shai, for being here with us. Dan, please.
My name is Dan Haddad, born in Israel, grew up in Canada, Montreal and Toronto, and recently moved to the US. I've been involved with advocacy on and off for around 15 years, and currently running a pretty newly launched campaign called Queers Against Anti-Semitism, so make sure you follow it, and that's it.
Leah, please.
Hello, hello. I'm Leah Forster. Please follow me on Instagram because my current demographic is closeted lesbians. So please spice it up for me.
Diversity is important.
Oh, totally. Why do you think I'm on this panel? I'm a comedian, but they put me on the gay panel because they needed a lesbo to round out stuff over here. Okay, I think that's it.
Thank you. Dan, I know that you run a research, or I'll start differently. You know, in the past, it was very simple. You had gay people, and it was... you know, we put everyone in the same basket. In recent years, we have too many, I don't know if, sorry, not too many. We have many letters. And I know that you run a research that can highlight or can explain in a different way what we see today in the streets, or what we see also on social media with the LGBTQI community. Can you elaborate about it?
Yeah, very carefully. So very briefly. So I'm here to tell you, you're not born anti-Israel or anti-Semitic. So you know the queer community is not genetically anti-Israel. We've done some research with an oversampling of LGBTQ people. And what we've realized that the issue has nothing to do with the LGBT community, it's an age issue, it's a demographic issue. So breaking down the letters, when you look at the L and the G, it's almost a bit more supportive than the general public. When you look at the queue, that's where we start seeing differences. And it's not because you're queer, it's because you're younger, usually. Most queer people identify as bisexual in our research. And most of them, most within the LGBTQ sample who identified as queer were 18 to 25. So the issue is not the LGBTQ community as a whole. It's an age issue. I'm sorry to make it so simple, but other people have spoken about that. We have an issue with the younger demographic, period.
Leah, continuing from this point, do you think there is a difference between gay and queer members of the community and the way in which they relate to the current situation in Gaza?
Yes, that is the short answer. And the long answer, because I come from a Hasidic background, is during the pandemic is when I had a real rude awakening. And I was on Facebook because I was bored and I was stuck inside my house. And I'm on a group called Queer Exchange. And this group has about 100,000 members. I'm outing them right now, by the way. Fat. And somebody posts, hey, FYI, there's a TR * peace sign hanging up in Williamsburg in case anyone wants to do anything. So I respond, because again, pandemic, I'm bored, and I write, what are we gonna do? And everyone's like, I will Venmo someone $75 right now to go burn down the sign. By the way, for those of you that don't know what TR * P is, it's Trump. But they couldn't even spell out the asterisk because it was like a curse word to them. So they're paying people to go burn down flags and destroy things. So I respond, again, because I'm bored, is that what we're doing now? We're destroying things and we're being violent? Like, those aren't my values. I don't align with that. Ho ho, oy vavoy. I got called names I had to Google because I didn't even know what they were. I got called TERF, didn't know what that was, now I do. So I got called all these names and I'm like, for why? Like, it doesn't make sense. And privileged, I got called privileged. FYI, I was in an arranged marriage. I come from the ultra-Orthodox Hasidic community. I was born in Williamsburg, raised in Bar Park, married for 12 years to my husband, okay? And here I am right now. So nothing about my background was privileged, okay? I own a business. I have hundreds of employees, and I run a home care agency. I still feel like an imposter, and I still feel like an imposter now in front of all of you. Like, even when I look at you guys, I'm like, I'm gay, but I'm not that gay. Like, you know, it's hard. It's really hard. And October 7th made me want to go back in the closet from the other people, you know? So overall, the answer is yes. That is the long answer is yes. And the short answer is that the only way to stop it is just to stop it. It's like mental illness. It isn't real. We are real. That isn't real. As you pointed out, the woman who showed us the whole I'm sorry, I don't mean to misgender you, whatever. I'm so scared. The person who presents feminine, who did that. Who did that beautiful presentation about explaining
Yeah, we have
us.
a different panel
Thank
for
you.
comedians later on.
I wasn't invited to that one. It's really weird.
Next time in Jerusalem.
Amen. Amen.
Shai, tell us a little bit, you know, for the straight people here, how is to be gay in the Israeli army fighting in Gaza, especially when you come from, I don't know if it has anything to do with it, from a religious family.
Okay. I've been traveling this week with Amit and Netanel. Can you raise your hand over there so I can answer? I answer the question. I've heard the story many of times during this week, so I feel safe to say the answer in their name as well. But I did a very long reserve service. I'm almost 7 months since the beginning of the war. So I had so many times when I met some new people around the army from all the sectors of the Israeli society and all the different kind of communities in Israel, different social backgrounds, etc. That's the most diverse army, I think, in the world, which is a privilege and a very unique place to meet so many different people. And for most of the time, being a gay in the army or just coming out as a single gay left-winger Tel Avivian was not an issue. Like that much, it's more complicated to people in Israel to love Tel Avivian because yes, we are so snobs than to actually.
When did you move to Tel Aviv that we are so snob?
So yeah. I grew up in a small settlement, became a snob, moved to Tel Aviv, and then, but the most important thing I want to say that it's such a non-issue for meeting, like, we are in a mission together, the background doesn't matter, the political statement doesn't matter, as long as we are there together, and the army is the best way to be together, and I think that's for most of my friends, the experience of being gay in the army was.
Dan, one of the questions I wanted to ask, but after having the conversation with you previously, I will ask the question anyhow, and please give the audience the same answer. How can you explain the hypocrisy within the community when it comes to Israel? Or when it, you know...
Yeah, I mean, what I'm going to say might sound unpopular, but I have zero issues with queer people being for Palestine. And I'll explain to you why. First of all, we can't expect a gay person to be so one-faceted, to just support something that has, or a country or an issue where, attaching queer rights to it. And I'll tell you my experience. Initially, obviously, the first 2 months, I was thinking the exact same way. But my queer friends came to me and were like, listen, I am going to support the Palestinians. I love Israel. I love what Israel stands for. But I'm not going to double oppress them. Meaning, I'm not going to not support their suffering, or not support. I'm not going to not support them for what they're going through. And at the same time, not support them for not having LGBTQ rights. It doesn't work. Also, the majority of the LGBTQ community that comes out for Palestinians don't come out for Hamas. As much as we try to, we post about all the time, how can you support? They don't. In the same way that we always say, we don't support the government, we support the people of Israel. Some of us, are against many of the policies. The majority of the LGBT community doesn't support Hamas. There are those extremes, and we've seen those pictures in Washington, and those are disgusting, and those people should be condemned, and I think jailed, that we're in America and they could say whatever they want. But that's not the majority. So the messaging just doesn't work. Most people think, what are you even talking about? I'm just supporting a people that is suffering in a conflict. So LGBTQ rights has nothing to do with it.
Leah, how can we better educate and engage the LGBTQ community on anti-Semitism? Because a member of the LGBTQ community should understand the similarities between anti-Semitism and anti-gay. But people do not do this connection. How can we better educate them?
I'm here. I'm learning. I wish I had the answers because it's not working. Whatever I'm doing, it's very odd, but the most hate that I've faced, I feel sad saying this because my own community kicked me out. And, my mother's not alive anymore, but she stopped speaking to me years before she passed. And I lost a lot. So I know what it feels like to feel rejected, but that is nothing compared to the hate and vitriol that I experience daily from my own queer community. So I don't know the answer. The answer is that I'm struggling, and I'm probably struggling harder than most because I already experienced my idea of what it means to be part of a loving and inclusive community once. And, it's Pride this week, and I don't want to be anywhere near that. The theme of Pride this year was Pride against genocide, and it blows my mind because I'm also against genocide. Who in this room is not against genocide? But when you put it out there in black and white, there's a very clear intention. So I don't know the answer, and my hope is that, you, all of you, continue being loving and continue being welcoming, because I felt nothing but love from my fellow Jews and my fellow Frum community. Nothing but love. And I felt a lot of the opposite from the queer community. So that's where I stand right now.
Many of us, what you said is true, not only regarding this panel, because sometimes we are looking for answers, looking for the solutions. We think there is an easy or not an easy solution, but sometimes there are topics in which there are no answers. We run out of time. Dan, you wanted to add something?
No, just very quickly. I think everyone's here. Obviously, online influencer is so important. 14 years ago, we had a huge anti-Israel, anti-Semitic issue in Toronto, and we ran a campaign called Size Doesn't Matter. And I say it very quickly. Well, we decided, we're like, okay, maybe online alone just doesn't work, and we went on a, hardcore initiative of doing things in person, and we did parties, and we did panels, and we did workshops, and we connected with every single LGBTQ organization and did something in person, and traveled to Israel in Toronto, and we did studies before and after. Travel of LGBTQ people to Israel from Toronto went up 45% because people were exposed to Israel and Jews, and I think that's part of the strategy, is we really need to be out there, obviously both online and in person.
In my world, they call that kirov. We need to do more kirov.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much. That was really good. Thank you, David. I'll see you probably again.